All right. So in today's class, we'll be talking about blood chemistry, and essentially we'll be looking at different tests that are done or different components of blood that are tested to look for any diseased condition that a patient might have. All right. So there are way too many number of them, but there are 12 of them which are important and which are checked on a regular basis. 12 specific component or 12 specific tests that are done, 12 investigations that are done on a regular basis to check for any health problem that the patient might have. Okay, we'll start off with the first one, that is aminotransferases. One second. So aminotransferases, last year अपन ये already पढ़े थे. You have ALT and AST in this. Alanine transaminase, aspartate transaminase. AST, ALT. Okay. AST is also called SGOT, serum glutamate oxaloacetate transaminase. ALT is also called SGPT, pyruvate transaminase, serum glutamate pyruvate transaminase. Now, their values will fluctuate a little bit. Generally, AST will be somewhere, AST almost, iska value roughly up to 40 international units is considered as normal, and ALT is considered somewhere between 35 to 40, 35 to 45 भी ले सकते हैं इसको IU, international units. Now, your liver is more rich in ALT, even though your liver has both AST and ALT in good quantities. Specifically, ALT will be very high in liver, okay, when compared to AST. AST is particularly high in heart. Okay, the muscles, your cardiac tissue में AST ज़्यादा high रहता, and it is expected that whenever there is inflammation of heart or necrosis of heart, AST will go up. ठीक है, पेशेंट्स हु हैव एनी हार्ट प्रॉब्लम्स उनके अंदर AST लेवल ज़्यादा रहते हैं, हार्ट एंड सराउंडिंग टिश्यू ऑफ द हार्ट. ठीक है, ALT will there is an increase in ALT levels generally when the patient is having some sort of liver damage. Okay. So for example, if you look at myocardial infarction, let us suppose a patient is having heart attack, AST becomes a very important marker of myocardial infarction. Okay. Within 3 to 8 hours of a patient having heart attack, okay, after the onset of attack, the patient's AST will generally be high, and it will take about 3 to 6 days for it to come back to normal. So generally, if a patient is having very high AST, it is safe to assume that they might be having some cardiac problem, or it might become a marker for myocardial infarction, meaning from high AST levels you might be able to conclude that the patient might have had a myocardial infarction, heart attack. You have to check the patient's heart as well. आप खाली EST के basis पे you cannot diagnose the patient with heart attack, but that will be an initiator when you're checking the patient's blood CBP. वो टाइम पे अगर AST हाई दिखा तो you can check the patient's heart condition. If at that period of time you are able to see damage to the wall of your heart, then you can conclude that okay, it might have been because of myocardial infarction. Now, generally, after myocardial infarction, let us suppose the patient had myocardial infarction 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Okay, for almost 24 hours, this levels will be very high. Okay, AST levels will be high for almost 24 hours on an average. 24 hours after the onset of myocardial infarction. Slowly they will start going down, and within 3 to 6 days they will come back to normal. Okay. In very few cases, you will see that ALT also rises in patients who have heart attack. Very few though. Mostly ALT will rise when the patient has liver damage. Now, generally, whenever there is liver damage, you will see that both AST and ALT are going up, but the amount of ALT will be much more compared to AST. Okay, there will be increase in both of them, but there is a greater response from ALT than AST. Okay, and specifically, their activity will be very high if the patient has jaundice. Especially early stages of jaundice में ALT, AST दोनों high रहते हैं, ठीक है. You might find that their levels are very high in hepatic ischemia as well. When the patient is having damage to the kidney, liver because of ischemia, wherein the liver is not getting enough amount of oxygen, या फिर cirrhosis भी हो रहा patient को. So hepatic ischemia, hepatic ischemia, along with cirrhosis. All of these are causes in which you will see a sharp increase in both ALT and AST. Sometimes you will see that hepatic tumors are also the cause of this, okay, increase in AST and ALT. Then we come to the second test or second marker, that is serum bilirubin. अच्छा, सीरम बिलिरुबिन के बारे में तो आई एम श्योर लास्ट ईयर अच्छा पढ़े थे. व्हाट इज बिलिरुबिन? कैन एनीवन टेल मी व्हाट बिलिरुबिन इज? अच्छा, व्हाट इज बाइल? बिलिरुबिन जान दो, व्हाट इज बाइल? Oh dear. How can you define bile?
Bile is a fluid produced by liver. Um,
Go on. मतलब, what is the purpose of your body producing bile? Or let me put it this way, what are the components of bile? What will be present inside bile? And what is its importance? Acha, last year when we studied about digestion of carbohydrates and protein, sorry, digestion of carbohydrates and digestion of lipids, I told you there are a few components of bile that are very important for digestion. What are those? Bile is useful for breakdown of fats. Yes, bile is useful for breakdown of fats. Specifically, what component inside bile is responsible for breakdown of fats? Acha, you have bile salts, bile acids, and bilirubin. There are other components as well, but these three are the important components which will be present inside bile. Bile salts and bile acids are very important for breaking down polysaccharides and breaking down complex lipids into simpler fatty acids, or to break down the fats into simpler fats wherein they can emulsify and they can get absorbed inside your body. What about bilirubin then? Bilirubin is a part of bile. What does it do? How is bilirubin formed and what is the function of bilirubin? Acha, if you remember last year I had told you about formation of bilirubin through breakdown of RBC. Whenever RBCs break down, whenever their lifespan is done, and whenever they break down, the heme component that is present inside your RBC, so hemoglobin is present inside your RBC, that gets broken down into globin molecule and heme molecule. This heme molecule gets converted into biliverdin. Biliverdin later on gets converted into bilirubin. This is unconjugated bilirubin or indirect bilirubin. ठीक है, UCB भी बोलते हैं इसको. This unconjugated bilirubin travels to your liver using albumin. Albumin attaches with bilirubin. It will transfer that bilirubin, unconjugated bilirubin, to liver, where inside liver it will get conjugated with an enzyme called UGT, uridyl glucuronidase transferase, and from there it will form a conjugated bilirubin. ठीक है, you are conjugating that bilirubin so that it becomes hydrophilic and it can get excreted out of your body through urine or through feces. Okay, this conjugated bilirubin will get stored inside bile, and whenever food enters into your stomach and whenever it is necessary, bile gets eliminated out into your GIT, and through GIT it will enter either into your large intestine or it might enter into your small intestine. If it is entering into your large intestine, it gets converted into stercobilin, where it will give the yellowish discoloration to your feces. Or if it is entering into your small intestine, which is more common, more amount of bilirubin gets transferred into your small intestine, it will get converted into urobilin, urobilinogen specifically, where it will give the yellowish tinge to your urine. That is how bilirubin is being processed, and that is what happens to bilirubin inside your body. Bilirubin is a pigment that is present inside your body. If bilirubin starts getting accumulated at any stage inside your body, it can lead to jaundice. Now, depending on where it is getting blocked, it can lead to obstructive jaundice, or it can lead to uh, post-hepatic jaundice as well. Sometimes there's another type of jaundice, but essentially these are the two common types. ठीक है, ये अपन पूरा कथा ऑलरेडी लास्ट ईयर पढ़े थे, फिर से रिपीट करना बोला तो लास्ट ईयर का पूरा हवा में उड़ गया. Okay. Now, normal levels of bilirubin, whenever you see a patient coming to your hospital and they being diagnosed with higher bilirubin, it generally refers to total bilirubin. Bilirubin itself will be represented as T bil, D bil, and I bil. So there is total bilirubin, direct bilirubin, and indirect bilirubin. Direct bilirubin is your conjugated bilirubin. Indirect bilirubin is unconjugated bilirubin. All right. The total amount of bilirubin that a person has, normal healthy person has, is somewhere in between 0.2 to 1.2 ml per 100 ml. Sorry, mg per 100 ml, 100 ml of blood. Okay. Um, if you are taking indirect bilirubin, direct and indirect values, direct bilirubin is somewhere between 0.1 to 0.4, indirect is between 0.2 to 0.7. Normally, if you add these both together, you will get total bilirubin. Okay, direct bilirubin and indirect bilirubin is when you will is how you will get total bilirubin. Now, whenever a patient is having hyperbilirubinemia, excessive amounts of bilirubin levels in their blood, what do I mean by excessive? By excessive, I mean more than 3 mg per deciliter of blood. Okay, very high amounts of bilirubin. That is when you will diagnose the patient with clinical jaundice. Okay, now this value might vary a little bit, but generally when this value increases even more up to 5 mg per dl, greater than 5 mg per dl, that is when you will start seeing yellowish discoloration, visible yellowish discoloration of their skin. Okay, sometimes it might not be as apparent at 3 mg per dl, but by the time it reaches 5 mg per dl, the patient's sclera, nails, skin, all of them will start becoming yellowish in color. Okay, now that is about bilirubin. Then we have calcium. Okay, why is calcium important for your body?
Makes bones strong.
Excuse me.
बोन्स के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है.
Okay, it is important for the health of your bones and only bones.
Teeth.
Okay, bones
Teeth.
and teeth. Is that the only function of calcium? What are the functions of calcium? Acha, find out and tell me what are the functions of calcium other than being present inside or having an important function on the health of your teeth and your bones. उसके अलावा और कोई function है क्या आपकी body में serum calcium का और calcium का in general? Now, on an average, in a healthy individual, the amount of serum calcium is about 8.5 to 10.3 milligrams per deciliter. of blood. Okay, in younger children, essentially in newborns, थोड़ा कम रहता. In newborns, it is about 7.4 to sometimes it can vary up to 13 as well. Okay, it is normal to have slightly higher amounts of serum calcium in newborns as well. So it can be less as well, it can be more. Now, there are a few conditions in which both hypocalcemia and hypercalcemia can occur. Meaning there are a few conditions in which the amount of calcium levels will significantly be low, and there are a few conditions in which it will be significantly high. Both of them are bad. ठीक है. Hypocalcemia generally is because of tetanus. ठीक है. One of the major causes because of which hypocalcemia occurs is tetanus. If the patient has already taken a tetanus shot, or if you know that it is not because of tetanus, it might be parathyroidism, hypoparathyroidism, PTH hormone is very less, या फिर nephrotic syndromes है, या फिर the patient is having advanced renal failure, it might be acute pancreatitis. ठीक है. Sometimes it is not being absorbed properly in your GIT. Okay, it might be due to steatorrhea. Steatorrhea is a condition in which there's a lot of fat being excreted out of your urine. ठीक है, your urine and feces specifically, उसको steatorrhea बोलते हैं. स्पेशल टाइप ऑफ डायरिया है वो. तो अगर उसमें या सीलियाक डिजीज है पेशेंट को, वो कंडीशंस में पेशेंट को हाइपोकैल्सीमिया हो सकता. और एल्स इफ यू आर गिविंग अ वेरी बिग डोज ऑफ blood transfusion, massive transfusion of saturated blood भी दिए तो hypocalcemia हो सकता. Hypercalcemia will occur in the opposite conditions. For example, if PTH is way too high, मतलब hyperparathyroidism हो रहा patient को, या फिर if you are giving excessive vitamin D therapy, normally what happens is patients will diagnose themselves as having low amounts of calcium or low amounts of vitamin D, and they start taking supplements without consulting any doctor, without actually performing blood picture or blood test. They will start taking a lot of supplements. That can be harmful in several scenarios because it can lead to toxicity. ठीक है. So excessive vitamin D therapy, या फिर sometimes the patient might have an autoimmune condition called sarcoidosis, cancer में होता, या फिर if the patient is on thiazide diuretics, all of them will lead to hypercalcemia. Then there is chlorine, serum chloride levels. Okay, now sodium, potassium, chloride, all of these together will form a very, very important trio. Okay, you will also have magnesium, bicarbonate, and phosphate, but these are very important constituents of your body fluids. Without them, electrolyte balance will get disturbed. Okay, now disease processes that are associated with change in volume of your of the fluid, okay, might be even composition of the fluid is changing. So for example, the fluid inside your ECF या cytosol जो fluid रहता या plasma जो रहता, any condition that is changing the composition or changing the volume of those fluids, for example edema हो रहा patient को या dehydration हो रहा, that can skew the amount of serum chloride present in the patient's body. Normally, if a patient on an average diet, any person will take about 10 to 15 grams of sodium chloride in a day, salt. Okay, this is average diet. A person who has average diet, I'm not telling hypertensive diet, only average diet, उन्हों 10 to 15 grams of sodium chloride लेते दिन में. ठीक है. But if the patient is excreting, how do you diagnose now if the patient is having a problem in chloride? Let us suppose the patient starts excreting very low amount of chloride. Low chloride excretion is indicative of chloride retention. Okay? Whenever the patient's body is retaining a lot of chloride ions in body fluids inside the body itself, you will see lower amount of chloride being excreted. It can also be attributed to decreased intake of chloride. ठीक है. Let us suppose आप chloride बहुत कम खा रहे, या even if you are eating normal amount of chloride, wherein your body is still retaining chloride, causing increase in the amount of chloride inside your serum and inside your body fluids, that can be in certain conditions. For example, अगर patient को chronic nephritis है, या फिर there is an inflammatory condition wherein a large amount of exudate is being formed, edema हो रहा, exudate form हो रहा, global inflammation है, patient को inflammation all over the body है, edema है, या sometimes heart disease, congestive heart disease है, या any of those sort, malnutrition की वजह से, all of these can be attributed to low chloride levels in the patient's body. ठीक है, any condition in which water is lost through other sources except kidney, for example if the patient is losing water through vomiting or the patient is having diarrhea, वो condition में भी chloride level बहुत कम हो जाता, या फिर sometimes the patient is having Cushing syndrome. ठीक है, Cushing syndrome में क्या होता, aldosterone production is very high. Whenever aldosterone production is very high, it will start reabsorbing a lot of water. ठीक है, and as a result what will happen is chloride levels will start going down, relative chloride levels will start going down because water content is increasing inside your body. ठीक है, it but the most common reason why the patient's serum chloride levels fluctuate is because of kidney damage. That is the number one factor. If there is kidney damage in a patient, उनके अंदर generally sodium chloride, sodium, all of those will be skewed. Their levels will be abnormal. Then there is serum creatinine. So serum creatinine itself is a product. It's a waste product of muscle and creatine metabolism. So क्या होता है आपके muscle में, to generate energy to move around, there is a product called creatine that gets metabolized. Whenever creatine is metabolized by muscles, it will create creatinine. So creatine undergoes metabolism to form creatinine. Now, why is creatinine important for your body, or why is measuring creatinine important for your body? Creatinine is a very good marker of kidney health. Creatinine and GFR. What is GFR?
Glomerular filtration rate.
What does that mean?
Glomerular.
What does GFR signify? Let me put it that way. I'm not able to hear you. Put it in the chat. Anyone? What is GFR?
How well the kidney works.
How well the kidney works. Okay. If you're telling GFR represents how well the kidney works by measuring the filtration rate of your glomeruli, what should be the normal glomerular filtration rate? And if GFR is abnormal, what does it indicate? In a normal healthy individual, what should be the rate of glomerular filtration?
90 mg ml per. They are
20
more than
mg or
90
ml?
ml, sir. More than 90 ml.
What is this more than 90 ml? If we are defining
Normal, sir.
rate, कुछ आप miss कर रहे. If I'm talking about glomerular filtration rate, what is this 90 associated with?
Per minute.
So your glomeruli in a healthy individual should filter. How the is passed to glomeruli per minute? I think you mistyped something, but right. So essentially, glomerular filtration rate for a normal healthy individual will be around 90 ml per minute. If it is going beyond 90 ml per minute, let's suppose specifically if it is going beyond 110 per minute, 110 ml per minute, the patient will go into hyperfiltration. Let us suppose the patient is on certain drugs that are getting metabolized and that are getting excreted by your kidneys, and if GFR is more than 110, what will happen to that drug? Specifically, how will the PK of the drug be affected? Can anyone tell me? थोड़ा सोचना पड़ता, but if a patient who is on certain drugs, let's suppose the patient is on some X drug that is relying on, it is undergoing urinary excretion, let's suppose. What will happen if the patient's GFR is more than 110 per ml, 110 ml per minute? What will happen to the PK parameters of this drug? Acha, find out and tell me what will happen. Okay? This condition is called hyperfiltration. Okay? Normally, renal failure को you will define based on glomeruli. Okay? Based on GFR. GFR along with creatinine are taken as two gold standards of kidney health. If the patient's GFR is low, generally their creatinine will also be low. Okay? Normally in a healthy individual, specifically अगर अपन serum creatinine की बात कर रहे थे ना, serum creatinine in a man is somewhere between 0.9 to 1.3 mg per dl, and in a lady it is around 0.6 to 1.1 mg per dl. It is associated with the total muscle mass. So on an average, if you take a average man and average woman, generally an average man will have slightly more amount of muscle content. So जो muscle mass रहता है वो slightly higher रहता है. That is why the amount of serum creatinine being produced in them is also high. And in general, growing children as well as teenage children, teenagers will generally have slightly higher amount of creatinine compared to properly adult people. Okay. Now, in certain conditions, serum creatinine levels will be variable. That obviously is renal failure is one condition where if you're telling serum creatinine is a marker of kidney health, then obviously if the patient is having renal failure, their serum creatinine levels will vary. Okay. Also, if the patient has DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, what is DKA? Upon last year in detail padhe the, what is DKA? Can anyone tell me what DKA is? What is diabetic ketoacidosis? Okay, find out and tell me what diabetic ketoacidosis is. But in general, DKA is associated with kidney failure. Generally, what happens is patients who have DKA, उनके अंदर BUN and serum creatinine दोनों, it produce acid more. What kind of acids? And why are they being produced? Right. So patients who have DKA, उनके अंदर blood urea nitrogen and serum creatinine, both of them will go up because their kidneys are not working properly. What happens is the urea and creatinine will start getting accumulated inside the patient's body. As a result, their serum creatinine will go up. Other conditions will include patients who are having starvation, या फिर patients who have fever, या फिर patients who have any wasting diseases, मसल वेस्टिंग डिजीज, फॉर एग्जांपल रैप्डोमायलाइसिस है, वैसे कोई भी मसल डैमेजिंग या मसल वेस्टिंग डिजीजेस है उसके अंदर बढ़ जाता सीरम क्रिएटिनिन लेवल्स. ओके, होल्ड ऑन, वी आर this thing is about to end. I'll send you another link in the group, join that one.